At least for me, the prelims is easy. So even I attempted this year paper as well.
लगता है PYQ help करने वाला है?
I would be writing content based on the demand itself.
So how you forced yourself and how you pushed yourself with that and how did it help you, the regular answer writing?
So I am not very good in the presentable manner.
How is life in DU?
Especially in my third attempt. So when I scored around 250s in my second attempt, the question demand itself is changing.
You
Paper
got
one.
154 in your paper 1, so it's such a great score, I would say.
You would be also bringing that historical perspective.
कितना पुराना PYQ हिस्ट्री ऑप्शनल में करना चाहिए?
That help you a lot in your even daily life. Then
Would
the
you like
paper
to
one.
recommend LevelUp IAS for that?
My experience of which portion should not be attempted at all.
What are some of the keywords or directives in the question that sometimes aspirants misinterpret?
You can't leave your current affairs preparation for the last minute. First major mistakes they do that they try to write history optional as a GS answers.
What message you want to give to the beginners who are going to prepare for UPSC?
Life is very chill, I would say.
Hello and welcome to the UPSC podcast. So today I have with me All India rank 95 Hassan Khan. Hassan secured this rank in his very third attempt. In the first two attempts, he could clear the prelims, he could clear the mains. In the second attempt, he reached the interview also and he got All India rank 643. In the third attempt, he has got the rank of course, maybe he wanted to be under 100 as well, and he got it. He is going to get the dream service that everyone thinks of. So, without wasting much time, as I always say, let's start this conversation with Hassan. Hassan, how are you? And we are so glad to have you here. Congratulations.
Thank you so much, ma'am. And I'm feeling very glad as well to converse about my journey and my aspirations that were there.
Yeah. So, first, tell us more about you. Who is Hassan Khan?
Ma'am, Hassan Khan was just a few years back was a normal small guy, a small town person
Huh.
who just came here in 2016 to do his graduation. Then he also pursued post graduation. So I came here in 2016 to do my graduation in history honors from Kirori Mal College. Then I also did my MA from Kirori Mal College. Then I start preparing for the UPSC, and so I luckily got into the RCA of Jamia as well, and there I prepared for my whole attempts, and luckily I am here.
So, एक simple DU का लड़का who has done the graduation from DU and now post graduation from DU, dreamt of UPSC. UPSC का dream कब से था? Was it since the beginning? That is why you chose history?
Yes, ma'am. So, at least from the class 11th or 12th, I
Okay.
start dreaming of clearing UPSC.
Mhm.
And then that's why I switched off my stream as well,
अच्छा.
from PCM to history honors.
Okay.
So that was one of the major reasons that I
Mhm.
wanted to prepare for the UPSC, and I changed the stream.
And if we see your journey in the first attempt that you took in 2022,
23.
23. Yeah. So if you talk about your journey in your first attempt that you took in 2023,
Yeah.
you cleared prelims,
Yes.
you cleared mains.
Yes.
In the second attempt, of course, you got the
Got the
rank
rank.
643,
Yes.
and in the third attempt, here you are, rank 95. So was there any hack जो आप हमें बताना चाहोगे कि clearing prelims every time, because we know prelims is such a big roadblock now.
Yes.
It has become one. और इस साल का पेपर तो हमने देखा ही है. People are talking about it. They are finding it very unconventional also. So if I ask you, prelims, आपने कैसे किया ये preparation? How easy was it for you?
At least for me, the prelims is easy. So even I attempted this year paper as well.
Okay.
And I was getting around 110 plus.
I want to know the hack. I want to know the code that you have cracked now.
So every time I scored 110 plus in every prelims. And the hack was only simple one, that you can't leave your current affairs preparation for the last minute. So I always completed my statics. Static is important. So for every static, I would do the basic standard books that are required. But I would keep on adding them with the current affairs. So current for every month, I would be doing the current affairs magazine. At least one magazine I would be reading it. Then the entire day newspaper I would be reading. And along with it, if I am free, then I would also be doing the newspaper analysis as well. So there are so many newspaper analysis in the YouTube nowadays. So I would definitely do it, so that there is a continuous revision of my static portion as well through the current affairs.
Okay.
So because there the kind of pattern of UPSC is changing, especially for the prelims. So the more aware you are with regard to recent developments in current affairs, that definitely helps you. And this time the paper was entirely around current developments. So that's why it was easier for me as well. And along with it, the PYQ, the kind of PYQ that have been asked. So what kind of the theme has been, what kind of the intensity or the depth that the UPSC was searching for. So that also helped me to anticipate what kind of the question the UPSC can again ask. So I was also looking those kind of anticipated question in the current affairs itself. So that's why it helped me a lot.
अब लगता है PYQ help करने वाला है?
PYQ at least would help in the sense that what kind of the theme that might be repeated.
I don't think this time they repeated
They
anything.
repeated. That's
They
the
are
only hack. Yeah.
so I feel like PYQs though aspirants are keeping the books
Books
aside. I
aside.
don't want to see the PYQs with the
But
kind
this
of
is only
surprising.
once in a time situation this year. So we are not aware that what kind of the
Ha,
paper in
actually.
2027 would
So
be. So
aspirants
yeah,
must be ready for
ready
the
for the
change
change. Yeah,
or for the surprise
surprise
element.
as well.
Right, right.
Yeah,
If we talk about your optional,
yeah,
Hassan's optional was history, and with history as an optional, you've sticked for all these
yes,
3 attempts. You sticked with history.
yes.
You were with history in your graduation.
Vision.
You were with history in your post graduation. So, of course, I won't ask you why history, but yes, there are people who have history in their background studies, but they still don't opt for history as the optional subject
Options. So
because they feel like it's a long
long
subject.
subject. Yes.
They may not get marks. So, आपने क्यों हिस्ट्री को ही चुन के रखा? What was the
I thought that because I had a background in history, so I did my graduation, post graduation. So I was not very afraid of the vast syllabus because I was aware of the every aspect of the history. So ancient history, medieval, modern, whatever the different themes are there in the syllabus. So I was aware. So I was just thinking about the thing that I need to just stick to that syllabus is I know, but that content I should have the consolidated notes I should have to revise them frequently. So that's why the issue of unfamiliarity with any another subject would not be there. So if I had chosen some another subject, the unfamiliarity, then again I have to complete the syllabus. So one thing was there. Second, the conceptual clarity that I got during my academic days. So the historiographical understanding as well. That also helped me a lot. Then I also thought that obviously the persons might not have got the result or the marks that they were aspiring for, but it was also might be because of their limited understanding of the historiographical things that are required to be written in the answers. So that's why I also think that if I write in a very academic manner and the professors are going to evaluate it, so they might reward me as well. That's why I also always stick to the history. And in the initial attempt I did not get good marks in history, but because it was because of my flaws as well, because I could not complete the paper in a proper manner and I left almost 90 marks in my first attempt itself. But itself then I got 211 marks in that paper. So I was thinking that if I just complete the paper I would be getting good marks. So that's why I just ensured that I should stick and I should revise frequently. That's the only thing.
So, what kind of student you were during your graduation days? Were you bright enough? How much were you scoring?
So I was a college topper for my graduation as post graduation.
Okay.
So I was the knowing I know the subject well
Oh,
to
how much
do
did
it.
you get in graduation?
So in graduation, I think 78% around. So that was my score.
That's good. Very good. I got 74.
Okay.
But that's fine. Talking about your marks in this year,
Yeah.
you've got 150 something.
154 in
You
paper
got
one.
154 in your paper one.
Yeah.
So it's such a great score, I would say.
That.
What was your strategy for paper one?
Actually, in paper one, I used to generate a number of good points. So, because earlier I used to write in a more descriptive manner, But because last year I wrote this level up test series from the RCA, because the level up was the academic association with RCA. So I wrote the answers in a more descriptive manner. Then I get the feedback from the evaluators that you are writing in a more descriptive manner. If you can just present in a more coherent manner, in a point wise manner, it would increase your marks. And that I ensured in my full length test as well as in the final paper. And that definitely helped me, because I was putting good content in my answers, but I was writing in a more descriptive manner, so the
Right.
legibility and the clarity was going down. But when I break it into number of points, so the clarity became more visible, and that's why I could get this kind of marks in my first paper as well.
And what happened in paper 2?
Paper 2, I really missed it a lot, because the kind of question that were asked in the modern history. So I was having this confidence because I had done my post graduation in modern history itself. So I was thinking that in entire 3 attempts I have written modern India for 2 questions from the modern India itself. But this time it backfired me, because the kind of question that were there was not any clear framework to write them. So they were very instantaneous questions, and you have to generate your own content entirely on the basis of that time. And that's why I think that if I had written the question from the world history, that could have made a good difference for my marks as well.
Because आपके GS में I think
Yeah.
बहुत अच्छे
So
score
JS
आपने
in
किए हैं.
entire 4 papers I got 450 marks.
That's a good score, I believe.
So, but the only difference was made by paper 2 of the optional as well.
जी, but still you got
Still got
All India
passed.
rank
Yes.
95, तो अब तो regret करने के लिए कुछ बचा ही नहीं
Yes,
है.
I think that I should not regret, but sometimes it always wonder me that I should have done a little bit more modern world history as well.
So if we अगर हम ये देखें कि आपका ऑल इंडिया रैंक 643 से ऑल इंडिया रैंक 95 में बहुत ही बड़ा जंप है, तो आप अपनी प्रिपरेशन में आपने क्या वो चेंजेस किए दैट मेड यू दिस द मेड द जंप दिस बिग?
Actually, in when I got selected in second attempt, so I was aware that I could not complete my papers, especially in GS as well and in optional as well.
अच्छा.
So in second attempt itself, I left almost 40 to 50 marks paper blank for the optional, and for every GS I was leaving at least 20 marks questions. So I was aware that I need to complete my paper this time.
Of course, you were
Yeah.
not leaving
Yeah.
intentionally ना, बहुत बुरा
Intentionally,
लगता होगा
yes,
इतना
it
सारा
was
छूट
so
गया
much
है.
frustration, because especially in the history itself, because I had given my 5 years to
Right,
optional and
right.
then for preparation as well, and then you could not reproduce what you have read or studied. So it always wonder me. But then again in the GS as well, I had so this in my third attempt, I was planning that first is my time management. Then another thing, what is the kind of value addition for each paper that are required. So for instance, in GS1, if there is a society element, so the societal keywords should be there in the answer. So I learned the examples, I learned the keywords. Then in the GS1 as well, in the geography, I start learning how to draw a diagram for the and the maps. So that's why I ensured that for each paper, what kind of value addition that is required for each paper, and that helped me a lot. And then I also changed the way I used to attempt the questions. So I start attempting more 15 markers initially. Then I completed my 10 markers. Then I again completed my 15 markers. So I switched from the 15 to 10 to 15. So it also helped me to manage the paper effectively and also complete the manner in a more satisfied way. Because earlier, I used to do that in the last 30 or 20 minutes, I just would try to write 4 or 5 10 markers, but that is completed only for the namesake, because you are not very satisfied with the content you could have written but you have not written because of the time crunch. So I ensured that the time management and the paper I should complete in a more holistic manner. So that's why it helped me a lot. And the value enrichment from toppers copies as well, they were doing for each paper, I used to see the toppers for that paper. So
अच्छा.
for instance, in paper
Comparative
2, yeah, so the
analysis करते
comparative
थे.
analysis. So if in paper 2 someone is getting 126 or 127, what is the different element he has included in his answer? So I would be seeing that answers as well.
So, if I ask you, like, now we know that mains is in August.
Yeah.
So, what two advice would you want to give to those who are preparing for mains now for history optional and for GS?
For the history optional, I would say that because of the length of the subject, one should ensure that there is at least twice or three revisions for the history itself.
Up tak.
And yeah, till the final mains. And one should ensure that everyone should not start with the ancient history itself, because we usually we do in a sequential
See,
manner.
right.
So
Ancient,
ancient, medieval,
medieval.
modern, world. But because what is more scoring is the world history as well as the medieval history. So what we can ensure that after ancient, one should switch to world and then modern and medieval in such a manner that because what is scoring, you should do it more in a more earlier
Better
manner. Yeah.
manner, of course. Content
So
भी अच्छा
कंटेंट
निकलेगा.
भी अच्छा लिखना है, एंड दैट्स व्हाई अदरवाइज क्या होता है कि व्हेन वी डू वर्ल्ड हिस्ट्री आफ्टर इन द द एंड ओनली, सो वी जस्ट ट्राई टू डू इट इन अ मोर simplistic manner. We are not doing any enough content searching as well, and the PYQ writing as well. So what should ensure they should not do in a sequential manner. They should do what are more scoring subject. Then secondly, they should also always see the PYQs, the kind of themes that are going to be repeated, and then practice them as well. Like, the content should be hover around those themes only, so that it would be more easier to recall them in the final exam if the themes are being repeated. So history, the revision, the PYQ, and then the test series. So they should get them evaluated from a more if experienced mentors. So how to structure them, because as I told you that in
Would
the
you like
paper
to
one.
recommend LevelUp IAS for that?
Yeah, so I would in history I would, because it helped me a lot in my third attempt to get this rank. So if one can afford, then one should join this. And for the GS as well, the focus should be on how to generate more number of points and in a more relevant perspective. So one should use the framework approach. One should learn how to generate good number of points with the keywords and the example. So the focus should not be on just a doing rote learning for the content. You should also learn how to generate number of good points with the same knowledge and with examples. So the here the writing of more number of questions become more important, and
Right,
especially in
right.
the GS.
Right. So, I think you've been, since you said that you were associated with RC also, you've been mentoring students or the aspirants. You must be seeing their preparation also.
Yeah.
So, what advice would you like to give to those aspirants who have history optional and you feel like they generally make these mistakes? So, what are those mistakes that an aspirant generally makes with history optional?
I think first major mistakes they do that they try to write history optional as a GS answers. So you can't do justice to the history optional if you are writing in a more GS manner. The history optional demand more analysis and the historiographical perspective from the historians as well. So they should try to include a bit of historiography, even if they are not mentioning the name of historians, but there are different historiographical perspective for each theme
But
or for
without
each event.
taking the name,
Yeah.
उनको confidence आएगा that I'm putting something and it
So
may
if
not.
they are not aware of the historian's name, then at least the perspective of they should know.
Okay.
And if they are aware of the historian's name as well, they should include it. Secondly, they should not write in a more point wise manner. There's a little bit description for each point should be there, so that the examiner should understand, okay, what kind of point you want to make it. So that would be very much required in it, that write in a more descriptive, in a more legible manner. And another thing is that they always miss the facts in the answers. So history is all about facts and other event based history. So you should try to mention some number of facts and specific factual details in your answers as an example while you are giving descriptions as well. So when I have seen a number of aspirants who are writing their means, they are writing in a more story like format. But history is not a story. It's a story. So history is like giving some factual details, some analysis, some historiographical perspective. So they should ensure that they do these kind of things in their answers as well.
So you talked about historiography. Talking about historiography and debates, aspirants को बहुत confusion होती है and they find it very tough.
Very tough,
What
definitely.
was your strategy with the historiography and
So
debates?
because as I told you, I was having an academic background, so I was aware of almost all of the debates that have been there in the historiographical area. But the only thing I used to ensure that if it is the question is specifically asking for the historiographical debates, then I would be writing in a more organic manner. But if it is not asking historiographical debates, then I would ensure that one or two historical perspective are there in the answer, but my answer should not look like a debate itself. So
Hmm.
this was my
Acha, right, right.
yeah. So
Your answer shouldn't look like a debate
debate.
itself, though
Yeah,
you are discussing about
discussing the
ones.
about, yeah.
Okay, okay, perfect. Sometimes is there any impact of politics on the subject? Politics in a way कि student को किस तरीके से जो बदलता political scenarios है, अपने answer को किस तरीके से mold करना चाहिए with every year? ऐसा कुछ रहता है?
I don't think, because the kind of question that you would be seeing, they are from the academic backgrounds. So whatever the debates and the researches are going on in the history, they would be asking question from that books, and the questions are from the standard books itself. So there, I don't think that there is any political tinge or some ideological tinge in the questions, and even the answer. You should always try to write a balanced answer,
Right,
because
right.
as you are going to be a bureaucrat, and the bureaucrats are supposed to be balanced and impartial. So in history itself, a true historian is one who can write an impartial judgment itself.
Yes.
So you should try to do a balance verdict with the
Of course.
answers.
Since you were associated with LevelUp IS History Test Series, तो आपको कब ऐसा लगा that your preparation now needs the answer writing more? Now the preparation needs an analysis of someone, the mentors who will be giving you the analysis or the evaluation. कब लगा आपको कि ज़रूरत है अब?
Especially in my third attempt. So when I scored around 250s in my second attempt, so I was thinking that content I am having, but how to present in a more holistic manner. And then I should ensure that the presentation wise it should be good, because the content I am having, and there was some lackness in my content as well, because in every content you can't have entire syllabus in your content. So I was also thinking that first of all the presentation wise, second what kind of the value addition that I should include, and thirdly some content wise I might not have that content. So if I can get some model answer prepared from the any institute, that would be helping me to cover my lacunas in my content as well. So that's why because the RCA got this label up, and then the model answer that I learned. So when if I for a question I was not having a model answer or some content, I revised this content model answer itself. Then the feedback that I got from the mentors, that okay, so in the intro itself you could have done this factual addition, in the structure wise you could have put this part first and then this part, and the presentation wise that would be more helpful. So that helped me a lot.
And how did the regular answer writing helped you in history optional? Because sometimes the self study and that friction is there, which stops you from writing answer.
Definitely.
So how you forced yourself and how you pushed yourself with that, and how did it help you, the regular answer writing?
Especially when I completed my syllabus, so there used to be this tendency that I should read a lot, but I would not be writing.
History always
Yeah,
looks good when
good
you're reading it.
reading, yes.
सुनना अच्छा लगता है और read करना. जब लिखना आता है
Especially in the
तो
modern history, there is so much difficulty to generate good number of points. So
right.
because it is, we usually read in a more story format, that the non-cooperation happened, and when you have to write about the non-cooperation, you would not be getting good number of points. So that's why it becomes necessary that when you start writing those answers, you would learn how to organize your content in a more holistic manner. So that's why you need to break your inertia of writing answers.
बिल्कुल बिल्कुल.
Once you break your inertia, then there you got the momentum. Then you would start loving that. Okay, I would be writing more number
But
of
how to
questions.
break that inertia?
Yeah, so
आप कैसे push करते थे खुद
so
को?
I used to because I had to get good marks in optional. So I was thinking that I am having the content, but I should learn how to present it. So at least I would do one thing, that for one day for day one I would be writing just two answers, but I would be writing it. Then gradually I would be keep on increasing that. So I would write for the initial part. I would be doing at least for the initial when just prelims result came out. Then I start practicing for 1 hour. So daily I would be reading it. Then for 1 hour I would be writing a number of 2 or 3 questions there. Then gradually I increased to 2 hours, and then for entire paper, so full length paper I start writing it. So that helped me a lot. So because you can also start from the day one, 1 hour only, then gradually 1.5 hour, then 2 hours, and then full length test as well.
And usually, when an aspirant writes the answer, sometimes they focus more on highlighting or putting the headings in the boxes, doing the making the flow charts or something or the other, just for make it look presentable. But they forget to address the main demand of the question. How important is that than the overall presentation that they
So
do?
I would speak about myself only. So I am not very good in the presentable manner. So I can't write in answers in a more presentable, that whole diagrams, flow chart, and all. I would be writing content based on the demand itself in a more logical format. So that's why in history itself, there is no need to draw a flow chart, diagram, and another thing. You just need to stick to the what is has been demanded from you in the question itself. Just address that demand, give a short heading that okay, so this part you are going to
Yes, in
deal with,
general.
and then you would should show the your content in a more descriptive and explainable form. No need to draw a diagram that non-cooperation happened, then this happened, then that happened.
But drawing the map of India,
Map of
it is
India is
important.
important. So if it is, for instance, a tribal revolts, the question is revolving around tribal revolt, then you can draw a diagram that's showing that different tribal revolts happened there. Or if it is a question related to Bhakti movement, so you have the scope of showing that in different regions of India there have been different Bhakti saints. So when there is a scope, you can
Right.
draw.
There's no need to
Okay.
unnecessarily
Unnecessarily
flood the
imposing
answer.
or the
Right, right,
mechanical
right.
imposition is not required.
But how to address the demand? How to understand what the question is asking you?
So I usually used to think that what kind of the main crux of the question. So if it is asking for the implication, or if it is asking for the factors that were there behind this event, or what kind of the process, if it is asking about the process and how manner it unfolded. So I used to think that the whatever is a larger question, then what is the essence, and the essence would be around these 3 4 points only. Either it is related to factors, causes, and other things, either it is related to how it unfolded as a process. For instance, in the post Gupta period, so there the question would be that the religion becomes so much multifarious in nature. So it is more related to the causes as well as the process that it unfolded in a manner. So I would see the essence of that question.
So it for that you need to have a better understanding of your subject.
Your subject
It's
is
not
right.
the ratification that
Notification is
works. Of
not,
course,
yeah,
it doesn't.
especially the kind of question that are being asked, especially
Right.
4 or 5 line questions. So
Yeah, you need to develop that understanding,
then
right?
yeah.
So, what are some of the keywords or directives in the question that sometimes aspirants misinterpret, and you must have also misinterpreted?
Sometimes we can miss that the question is the critically examine or how far portion. So if it is a question that just discuss, so it is usually asking for the another dimension as well, or it is related to critically examine. So yeah, for how far do you think that it has happened?
तो
So
वहां पर
this
क्या है?
means that you have to show that okay, to this length only it has been successful, but for another line it has not been, because how far. But in another question, just illustrate or analyze. In this manner, you have to just agree with the the question, the crux of the question. So if you say, the question was last year that the Harappans were not having an artist aesthetic sense. So in this and the illustrate something like was there. So we have to not agree with the question, and we have to illustrate that okay, they were having this aesthetic sense as well. So because if the question is such a manner that they are asking, okay, they were not, so you have need not to agree with the demand, but then illustrate in a logical manner. But if they have said that how far do you think the Japanese were not were having aesthetic demand sense, then I could have written okay, to this length they were having the aesthetic sense, but for this another length there were limitation of their aesthetic sense, and the Mesopotamians and Egyptians were having more aesthetic sense. So this is the main crux, that there would be only two type of question. Either it would be related to how far, so you have to show the another dimension, the limitation. Either it would be just enunciate or illustrate the demand of the question itself.
But that requires practice
Practice
only,
a lot.
right?
So the
Self
when you
study
keep on,
sometimes,
yeah,
self study sometimes. I think you just keep on studying and you don't
studying.
understand the various
Various
dimensions that a
dimensions of the,
question you
yeah,
have to fulfill.
yes.
So, what do you think that if a person is doing self study and getting guidance from someone, how do you think that the guidance helps?
Guidance first of all helps you to consolidate your sources as well, because there is no standard source, I would say, for the history optional itself. So there are number of books, and the books are keep on increasing because of the research and the
Right,
recent
right, right.
development. So you need to be aware. So a guidance would be required to get a consolidated understanding what sources would be required. Then secondly, what kind of the presentation or you should ensure in your answer writing. Otherwise, we can see one toppers and they would be saying the more flow chart and the diagram. Another would be saying the more descriptive form. So you should also find your key point, that where I stand and
What
how
was your key
key
point?
point. So I used to be more descriptive and another explanational form. So I would be ensuring that some sort of diagram, but the more description I would be given.
Because you had a better
Better
understanding
understanding,
of the
yes,
topics and
yes.
the things.
So I would not just fill the space by just drawing the diagrams. I would ensure that more content is there. So you have to the guidance would be required for this as well. And another present is this kind of keywords that you need to understand what is the basic demand of the
Right,
question,
right.
the basic structure your answer should have. It is not just intro, body, conclusion, but there is the you have to divide within the body what kind of the
Right.
structure you should ensure, the causes you should give first, or the process or implication. So you should understand it, and the guidance would be required here as well.
So here, you are like you'll be mentoring students also at LevelUp IS. So what the aspirants should expect from you?
Number of things I can do, like for instance the sources I can tell, because I am having enough understanding of the sources, what kind of the different sources would be required. Second, if they are writing answers, then I can help them that okay, you can structure in a more effective format. And another thing is that the kind of factual details, the value addition that might be required.
Your
So yeah,
experience,
so
of
I can
course, you
experience
share that.
my experience of which portion should not be attempted at all,
Ah,
and which
right.
portion should be
Makes
attempted
sense.
more.
So that
So
they don't commit the
yeah, this
mistakes, of
mistake that
course.
I made.
If we talk about the role of PYQs, how important are they and कितना पुराना PYQ history optional में करना चाहिए?
History optional, I would say that the PYQ is considered the holy grail of the every subject, but for in history, because the one thing for the history optional is that it is a static subject. So, for instance, the theme would be definitely being repeated, but because of the recent researches that are going on in the academic discipline, the framing of the question would be changing a lot. So you should ensure that you should see the question from 2000 or for 2004 or 5 to just get the glimpse of what kind of the themes that are very favorite to UPSC or the academic discipline, and then also ensure that what kind of the changes in the framing of the question have been over a period of time. So from 2005, the question on the Ashoka Dhamma would be very easier one, that what are the features of Ashoka Dhamma. But in the later phase of 2019-20, the question would revolve around what are the political dimension of Ashoka Dhamma. So the question demand itself is changing. So that's why you should understand the PYQ in a more evolutionary form, how they are changing the framing of the question. And when the framing of the question changes, the demand itself changed.
And how did you do the mapping?
Yeah, so mapping, I ensure that for each theme, I would be having enough side content for each theme. Paleolithic, Mesolithic, Neolithic, for every theme, I would be having content for each side. I would be identified 2 or 3 major features for that side. So one would be related to its district and the state. Then another 2 major features, whether it is related to Burj so pit dwelling should come in my answer. Then the burials with the dogs should come in my answer. So for each side, I would be having very specific points if it is there. If it is a site that is very not well known, then I would be writing normal points related to that theme. So if it is a normal site like Daujali Harding of the Assam, so I would be just mentioning the basic features of the Neolithic that are there. So for every site there, because it is a Neolithic site, so there would be evidence of the domestication of the agriculture. There would be domestication of the animals as well. So bone tools, so different small points that are related to that theme, I would be writing it. Yeah.
So I think LevelUp also has a book on
Yeah,
mapping.
so that can be
Did you
utilized.
refer that?
Yeah, I referred in the my last attempt itself.
Okay.
So for because I have already prepared my notes for this sites. Yeah. So but for the lacunas that I was having, so I referred it, and especially the that recent sites that were not there in any other source. So I read them from the level of book, and that helped me a lot.
If you talk about your interview experience, how was it? History interview में कैसे पूछा जाता है? Do they even ask the questions?
They definitely ask, because everyone is very enthusiastic about history, and especially our
Actually,
Indian history.
the subject in itself is such, right?
Yeah.
Right.
So there would be question they are used in my second attempt itself. The almost entire interview revolves around these history questions, the kind of change that I wanted to make in the history if I had the chance. Then if I want to meet someone from the history, then these kind of questions were there.
तो
And
ऐसा कौन है जो एक्चुअली में आपको मन कर रहा है कि मुझे इनसे जरूर मिलना है? इतना पढ़ने के बाद इतिहास तो जरूर लग रहा होगा.
So when I answered it, was the Emperor Ashoka, because you see the context in which he is working. So it's a just historical evolutionary state that has just come out a centralized. So he is trying to create a organic centralized state, but then he is not having resources. Then the ingenuine thought that okay, so the communication might weaken the standard way of talking to persons and the moral teaching kind of thing. So that's why he's
So
very
how does
fascinating person.
history helps in personality test? Did it help you in the last attempt
Yes,
of yours?
definitely. It helped me a lot, because first of all, there would be definitely questions around the history if they are interested. Otherwise, the historiographical perspective you generate. So for each thing, for instance, if I have to see the present challenges to our country, the developmental issues, then I can also have a historical perspective for those developmental challenges.
Right.
So when you are answering that question, you would be also bringing that historical perspective. For instance, I was asked, so what if do you think that we gave more political independence first, then we gave economic independence to our citizens? Because in political independence we gave in 1947 the civil rights and other, but for the economic independence we gave in 1991. So why was there? So do you think that if we had done both in a simultaneous manner, it could have changed the way we have developed?
That's a great question.
So these kind of question would be there, and if you are having a good understanding of the history of that context in which that emerged at that point of time, so then you would be answering
So
it.
were you able to answer it?
Yeah, I answered it, and
properly?
I don't know.
You
but
thought that they are convinced,
Yeah.
okay.
So, but the marks that I got, so I was aware that I conveyed it very well.
हाँ, because अच्छे marks मिले हैं आपको आपके personality test में. If we see history in administration, how do you think that you're going to bring history in administration, and how क्या वो आएगी आपके सामने history as an administrator, how it's
I
going to
would
work?
think that it would come in number of ways, I would say. First of all, the kind of, for instance, this historiograph, this administrative innovation that the different emperors had tried to do. So now the situation has changed. Now we are in a democracy, so we are more accountable to the citizens. But the kind of innovation that they tried to make their subject more prosper and other things, I would also try to do them in more holistic manner. And then the also this understanding of limitations of what were the factors for the if the earlier program was going on, what were the factors that were limiting them. So and because when history we always learned that what were the factors that make it successful or it did make it failure. So it also helped me a lot to do a more holistic analysis of the different programs that were there.
Now, since we're coming to the end of this conversation, before we end it, I just want to talk about Delhi University. You have a good relation with Delhi University because you spent your 5 years there, you did your graduation, post graduation. How is the academic mahal in Delhi University? In graduation, because you did your post graduation
Yes.
in COVID times.
So initially, when I went there, so as I told you that I changed my stream from the PCM to history, so it was very much difficult for me, for a small town boy who has come to this metropolitan
Directly
history.
non-medical से history में jump करना.
History में jump, and then you start learning new things, And because when you study PCM subject also, you get very like mechanical perspective.
Right, absolutely.
Yeah, and when
Right.
you come to the history of the social science, there is a more subjectivity in everything. Then I used to wonder what kind of this nonsense the historical, no historians is agreeing with the another historian, what kind of the conclusion is going there. So that
Okay.
help that create a problem for me. But gradually I start understanding the nuances of this subject, and then my good friends from the classes, the different persons from different regions. Then I also learned different cultures from the northeast India, from the southern India. So it went. We never felt that we have spent more than 5 years there only. So when we parted ways, so then we start thinking, okay, so we have spent a number of years.
How is life in DU?
Life is very chill, I would say. The
Lectures कभी कभी होते
lectures.
हैं, कभी नहीं होते हैं.
Most of the time they happen, but it depends also on the
But
professors
DU
as well.
दोपहर के बाद में तो एकदम
Yes,
खामोश हो जाता
खामोश
है.
हो
वो
जाता है,
they
yes.
go out of the classes. We don't find anyone in the
Anyone, yeah,
class.
definitely.
3 बजे या 2 बजे lectures होते हैं. इनफैक्ट 4 बजे भी lectures होते हैं
Lectures,
ना.
they are on the schedule itself, but if they are happening or not, that doesn't make sense.
Right, right.
So, but we used to get some professor would come
Of
there
course, the
daily.
professors used to come,
Yes,
but
but
I
we
thought,
didn't
हाँ,
come.
I've also passed out from
Yeah.
DU. I know, professors used to come. Sometimes 1 or 2 students
Yeah,
are there,
are there.
but the
Sincere
class
ones,
is खाली
class is
and
खाली.
professor बेचारे वहाँ पे क्या करे अब बैठ के.
Then they have to just mark up and attendance
हाँ.
and that's go
But
ahead.
I would say lots and lots of Delhi University students, they prepare for this exam, right? Why is that so? And many, they choose history because history ka, why do you think one should choose history as their option? Pehla to ye, of course, they prepare for UPSC.
Okay. So, as a history optional, I would say, even if no one is choosing history as an optional, I would say history as a subject itself is very fascinating. So, because in for every another for other disciplines, for instance, political science or for instance, economy, you are bound to in that stream only. So, for instance, if a person is studying economics, the whole content revolves around the economics and data and other things. But in history, every time you would be reading something related to administration, something related to the political expansion, sometimes economic history as well.
Right.
So the culture, the art.
शुरुआती इतिहास से होती है.
Yes. So for every discipline, the historical analysis is required. And in history itself, there are so much dimensions are there. You can be fascinated by the art and culture, the architectural developments that take place in the ancient India, then the medieval India. So that is more fascinating and loving subject. And the another thing is that when you start learning this historical perspective, that help you a lot in your even daily life. So you always start even thinking that what was the life was when there was no AC, no freeze, no mechanical tools as well. So then the entire things become more visible and evolutionary in phases. So then your vision becomes more evolutionary. Okay, so what kind of intervention you can make to change the whole course of future. So that is also fascinating.
And who was your favorite professor in your bachelor's?
In my bachelor, I was having 2 or 3 professor. So one was that Shekhar Bandyopadhyay.
Okay.
So his kind of writings are there, and another one this Meena Bhargav ma'am. So she has taught us this medieval history.
Okay.
And then the kind of and the different nuances I learned of the medieval India from her as well.
And in your post graduation?
Post graduation, there was my professor was what was his name? Prabhu Mahapatra.
Oh
So
yeah,
yeah,
I've also studied from
yeah.
him,
So Prabhu
Mohapatra sir.
Mahapatra sir, the economic history that
Right,
he
right, right.
taught me. So I was very much. I was one time I was thinking of doing my PhD in economic
I
history.
was going to ask you this only, that itna sometimes the relationship is such strong, it gets stronger for these 5 years. You feel like proceeding ahead, but of course the destiny had a different.
But I gave my exam of UGC NET and I cleared in my first attempt GRF.
Oh,
So
that's very nice.
I then go ahead with the academics. So I thought that I should pursue my for the dream that I had come here.
Right, right.
So I should focus on it. But then I would be thinking of doing PhD in history for a long time.
Maybe you can do it in the future.
In the future, I
Of
would
course. So now we are ending this conversation. Of course, the conversation was very good. It was very insightful. What message you want to give to the beginners who are going to prepare for UPSC?
The only suggestion would be that to focus on the conceptual clarity itself, because the conceptual clarity for every subject would be required not only in the prelims or the mains, even for the interview itself. The more conceptual clarity you are having, they would be asking you in your interview. Then second is the never miss the current affairs. So the kind of pattern the UPSC is changing, they would be asking your current affairs knowledge in depth. And so always try to link your current affairs with the static portion. So never rely on the only the static portion. Always study the current affairs in a more contextual format. What are the historical perspective for that format? Then what are the going to challenges ahead in that subject? So current affairs for every subject, especially for the science, tech, environment, and politics and governance. These are very much required for the current affairs. So you should do in a more holistic manner, and never stop reading newspaper would give you the perspective, different perspective, different content, what is going on around the world. It would give you the examples as well for your understanding. So also keep on practice reading newspaper. It would also enhance your linguistic understanding, and the good keywords would also be you getting it from the newspaper itself.
I think this was so well said by you. And I believe in this whole conversation, you have busted the myth that the aspirants have, that history is such a big subject, marks nahi milenge, because you've already got great marks and you've got such a great rank as well. And history ka role in your GS is also very important. In prelims, it's very
It's very
important. We
important.
see now the kind of questions that
Even
are
I
coming.
never prepare for history for the prelims, because I was having
आपको
my
जरूरत ही
so
नहीं
I
पड़ी
was knowing that I would be able to
हाँ
solve
तब
these
तो
questions.
अलग ही
Yeah.
ऐसा रहता होगा ना
So
टशन
and
ओके
yeah,
फाइन
and
या
every person is very much thinking about how to complete my history for the
राइट
prelims.
यार
But
एंशियंट
I'm
नहीं
yeah,
हो
so
रहा है
nahi ho
ये
raha hai.
नहीं हो रहा
So
है
but you are very chill for your prelims. So history, at least for the prelims, even for the mains, you are not bothered about.
आई थिंक एक हैक ये भी है आपने ऑप्शनल हिस्ट्री लिया इसीलिए आपको प्रीलिम्स और मेंस में कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं हुआ प्रीलिम्स बार-बार निकल गया
It might be.
might be of course so thank you so much I hope you enjoyed the
Yes,
conversation
definitely.
and I hope the aspirants would also gain something from this conversation if we both of us are of some help to you
Yeah.
we would be very glad thank you for
Thank you.
coming here
Thank you. Thank you
thank
so
you
much.